Here we go. It is time for another sprint zone. This one's for 617. And it was a day where not a lot of people showed up. In fact, it was forecast for some rain in the afternoon, and there were only two brave souls, other than myself, that decided to go for it. And that would be the legendary Elisa and notorious Jamie there in front of me. So Elisa pulled the entire way up County Road 5 like a diesel. And this was a good thing because I was a little tired. But, it is what it is. So, as far as telemetry today, unfortunately, my power meter wasn't working and I wasn't able to get Jamie and Elisa's power, maybe in a few upcoming videos. So, we just have speed to rely on and my heart rate to show what the degree of difficulty is on this one. We make the corner, and Elisa still at the front, not willing to give anything up. But at this point, it looks like perhaps Jamie is shamed into going to the front. And then we see that they're tagged there, of course, delineating that they are not NPCs, and the game is afoot. So the plan here was that we would kind of work together on the way up, and then at the very end, I would do my final pull, and it would be game on, weapons free for the young ladies. And Jamie is like throwing it down here. She always surprises me. I know that she doesn't like to go to the front, but she can go and really hurt some people. Most impressive. Elisa in tow nicely, and I'm sitting back with the off angle trying to get a good camera view of who is there. My turn to go here, and we're off and running. There's a good shot of them. Jamie sits up with that classic smile there that she is now no longer having to work at the front. And we're looking good. Nice smooth cadence. And one of the reasons for doing this video is I believe Jamie had stated to Tom, am I a masher or am I like a spinner? I don't know. And I put out a series of still photos on the TFR group, and Tom was like, well, you could just stitch them together and see what you got. Well, I can do Tom and Jamie one better. We got some real video here. The cool thing would have been if we had had Jamie's telemetry and I could have had her cadence on the screen, and there would be no doubt. There would not be the question of masher or grinder. It would be, well, what is the cadence? 80, 90, 100, or whatever. But it looks like a reasonable cadence. Not too slow, not too fast. In fact, I wouldn't say masher or spinner, just right. Just like in the Three Little Bears story of Goldilocks. Is it too hot? Is it too cold? Or just right? I come off and we all are ramming and a thumping. Looking at my heart rate, 160 beats per minute. And I am working hard. Like, this is where my heart rate used to be in the old days when I was not working extremely hard. But as I keep mentioning on a lot of these videos after the COVID, we're talking like another 8 beats up to show the degree of difficulty. But the speed is good, 24 miles an hour. And it is like no joke being behind these women. Both of these women have podiumed many times. Last year, most notably, I believe Jamie podiumed in her age group on the Foco Fondo. And I think it was the previous year, Elisa had podiumed in the Foco Fondo. So we have women of pedigree here. Elisa taking over and looking strong, just tapping out a nice, strong tempo. She is definitely a diesel. And I've watched her grow throughout the years from barely being able to hang on to besting me in the sprint zones many times. And she looks good here. And I am on it. My heart rate up to 154, working hard here, thinking to myself, I don't really want to go to the front at any point, and I'm happy to kind of sit in. But definitely when you've got only one or two people in front of you, the draft is not quite as good. Now, Elisa did a lot of work up County Road 5. I'm surprised she's as fresh as she is, but she puts in a ton of miles. And Jamie coming right in. I'm kind of surprised that Elisa didn't let Jamie follow my wheel. as we're a typical rotation. But, it is the sprint zone and you can do whatever you want to do. But as far as like saving energy, two people in front of you is a lot better than one person. And I'm not the biggest dude out there, although I have gained 8 to 10 pounds over my best in like 219, which I am not all that happy with, but it is what it is. And both women here just head down in the drops, working hard here as I try to maintain a reasonable semblance. 20 miles an hour, a little bit of a headwind coming off of our right shoulder here. Heart rate up to 170 now, and I am beginning to get near threshold, and I can feel the lactic acid in my legs. RPM 96, and this is not my typical cadence when I'm like on Zwift. For some reason, if I'm on Zwift, I'm happy around 75, but in the real world, my cadence is a lot higher. And I probably would not have noticed that except when doing these videos. I'm like, oh, look at that. Because normally I do not look at my telemetry when I am riding. Like a lot of people, they'll look at their stuff. And I talked to one gentleman and I said, well, why don't you get a power meter? He says, I would be too distracted. And that's all he'd be focused on. And, you know, yeah, I'll admit it. The power meter is a novelty perhaps for the first week or so. But after that, it's just like cadence or RPM speed, average speed, maximum speed, any kind of stuff that you can get as far as telemetry on your head unit. And it's just like you just ignore it, especially when you're in the sprint zone where you need to be heads up, paying attention to what is going on so you don't get gapped or worse yet, overlap wheels. And here's this little part where we stand up here. And I'm happy that my heart rate has dropped a little bit from sitting in 161, but still like no joke. And it is definitely game on here. So we were rotating in one direction. We were rotating counterclockwise at some point, and we really should have been rotating clockwise, but it's a subtle wind off of our right shoulder. But you can notice like the ponytails on the young ladies, and that's a good clue. Like a lot of people, they're like, well, how do you know which way the wind is going? And you can see that the ponytails are off just a slight bit to the left, indicating that that is where the wind is from. And you can see actually where I'm sitting, that is in fact the case. I think I said something at some point and we did get this right. It's not a big deal here because it's only a couple of people, but like to save energy, you want best practices, especially when you go and do rides with other people that are seasoned and they know what's going on. They're looking for anything to see, well, is this person a good rider? Or her legs shaved? Well, not so much for women, that's kind of the given, but like, what kind of kit, what kind of cadence, what kind of whatever. And here we go. So now the rotation is like kind of right? Jamie's always smiling. She's always happy, and that's a good thing. Stylish glasses there. A kit always matching. Notice how it matches the bike and everything. Elisa coming through, and that we are going for it. Onto the smooth pavement, and that really dark pavement that we had seen a few 100 yards back. That was pre-chip seal the week before, and there were piles of gravel, and it did have an impact on the sprint zone as some folk decided to back off rather than risk injury here, because you never know how deep those piles are going to be, and if somebody in front of you is not quite as skilled. Nice little echelon here as we are just throwing down the power. My heart rate 166, working hard, but not on the rivet just yet. It seems like, getting it into the 170s or 180s mainly only happens when I'm trying to chase the supers, because I can't mentally drag myself up front to actually do that much work unless I have to like save face. If there are people in front of me that I consider to be lesser than, I'm like, okay, I can't be sitting behind that, and I am forced to like hang on, just for my honor. Good rotation there as I drop back. Yeah, this is the way it should be done. Nice tight echelon here. Everyone's smooth. And notice how smooth Jamie and Elisa are. There's none of this like wagging back and forth like I see with a lot of riders where they're an inch this way, 2 inches that way, and the handlebars are just controlling the bike with a lot of impetus. This is just nothing but pure smoothness here. And when you see this, this is what you want to ride behind if you want to be safe. And this is part of the judgment. If you don't know who riders are, look at how they ride. Look at the line. Look at their posturing. And there we go. There's the flick of the elbow here. Yeah. And Jamie comes forward, and this is a nice little workmanship here by Jamie. I'm thinking to myself, oh man, like when is this gonna be over? Because it's definitely a lot more work when there's only like 3 of us. Heart rate 166, and it's getting close. It's getting close to the time where I am going to do my final pull and let the young ladies battle it out here. Champions in their own right and tenacious, extremely tenacious. Jamie got the smile on her face, and I know there was like some talk about, like in the still photos, I always captured her with like a grimace or like an off expression. But here, nothing but joy, nothing but happiness with that Aero helmet. So I'm working hard, and you can see heart rate up to 170. But you see, if Jamie is still able to speak, it cannot be that difficult. 171 for me for a second there. And this is all I can do, is to stay out there to give them somewhat of a chance to fight this out on their own before I give up the ghost. Lactic acid, no doubt, burning in my legs, and I can see that my RPMs are dropping, and that is a sign here that my work is done here. And there we go. And Jamie is going for it, leading out the sprint, and Elisa is going hard. And I remember she said she was like maxed out on this one. And I know she didn't really want Jamie to win this one, but Jamie's looking back for a second, but pushing hard. I cannot hold the wheel here, and it's a good push. Jamie's just going for it, and you know how tenacious he is. And she comes off as being mild mannered and meek, etc. But in speaking with Tom, it's like, no, if she sees another woman in front of her, someone that she believes that needs to be, not ahead of her, it's just, I got to crush them. And that's what we like to see. That's the attitude that we want to see in the sprint zone, regardless of how many people show up. In any case, everyone, you missed a good ride, except for the 3 of us. A good time was, in fact, had by all. I don't know what to say, but until next time. And it looks like Jamie got that one. Congratulations. I kind of look forward to the day when we have Jamie and Diana and Anna and Isla and Ilka and Christina and Marquetta, a full contingent of the strong women for a nice battle. But perhaps only in my dreams. Well, until next time, peace out, everyone.